Wanting to become a YouTuber for fun or for profit? Check out the amazing Blue Yeti microphone today. Affiliate link in the video description. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater. And with the announcement of the potential, possible, maybe, unconfirmed Obi-Wan standalone movie, there was another little tidbit in that kind of slipped through the cracks for the most part, but it's been picked up by a number of fan sites, and they are running wild of speculation. So please be certain or sure, just be aware that this is 100% speculation. We have no idea what's going on, and even the Obi-Wan story it's still a speculation. We don't have any confirmation yet, but it's probably more legit than not. So here's what slipped through the cracks, if you will. In there it said that Lucasfilm was also developing other spin-offs, right? And we've already kind of known about this. We've already known about this because we know that it wasn't like, Star Wars Rogue One. It was Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And this is like Han Solo, whatever, or it's not Star Wars Han Solo. It's going to be Han Solo, a Star Wars story or something like that. So that's the anthology series that they are creating. They've wanted to do standalone stuff that's tied to the greater Skywalker saga, but not directly involved with it. And that's a cool point going forward, in my opinion. It gives us ancillary tales that just tie into the greater mythos, but are allowed to stand on their own. It's one of the reasons why I loved Rogue One. Again, many people out there argued that the movie was wholly unnecessary and wholly unneeded, and it was like, we've already known about it, and show me the Bothans dying, even though the Bothans technically died in the second Death Star. But this time around, they're talking about the possibility of a Yoda spin-off film and a Boba Fett spin-off film. Now, the Boba Fett spin-off movie has been very much talked about for a while. Back in end of 2014, beginning of 2015, it was said that Josh Trank was hired by Lucasfilm in order to do a movie, and it was heavily speculated that it was the Boba Fett film. Now, Trank, coming off of Chronicle, was very much a hot property, a hot director at the time, and he was working on Fantastic Four, or Fan4stick, more appropriately, for Fox, and he was brought into Lucasfilm via Simon Kinberg, who has a lot of fingers in pies at Lucasfilm, while also basically being like the dude in charge of all of the 20th Century Fox X-Men properties. Very odd connection there, yet somehow the conversation of Disney and Fox working together over Marvel properties hasn't even remotely come out yet publicly, although I'm sure Kinberg is going to be the bridge on that one. Basically, as a side thing, because that's where my mind at right now, if it ever goes the way at Fox that like Spider-Man did with Sony, Kinberg will be the new Amy Pascal and broker that deal to save his skin, as I'm moving on from that one. But then Trank basically dropped the ball with Fantastic Four. I mean, tweeting out even the day the movie came out that this wasn't the film he wanted to make. I mean, it was bad. And they pulled him from the Boba Fett film. They pulled him from Disney. It was not so much unceremoniously, it was just very quiet. They did it. And so now they've been wondering what's going to happen with Boba Fett. Are we going to get a Boba Fett movie? There was always going to be Star Wars 1313, that game about Boba Fett that ended up getting pulled, and parts of that have been kind of moved into Visceral's Star Wars game that's coming out from Amy Hennig and Jade Raymond that we've seen a little bit of footage from, but nothing too much, and we don't even know if that is tied into Boba Fett or not. Part of me feels that if they are going to do a Boba Fett movie, they would tie it into that game that we still know very little about. But the question remains, did Boba Fett survive the Sarlacc pit? And there's been multiple references in canon that he has. This is coming from the Aftermath books that led into Star Wars The Force Awakens. So we know through that little tidbit of information that it's possible Boba Fett survived the pit. And given the fact that he is a cult favorite character for doing very little, to be fair, it seems to reason that they would bring him back. I mean, I can go to Build-A-Bear right now, and I can go buy a Boba Fett bear. You might notice I got the Chewy one back there. I love that thing. So Boba Fett in terms of marketing, very high. They could use this in order to push forward film, right? And then as for Yoda was 900 years old before he died. So they have a lot of lifetime there in order to push that. Now, what I would suggest would be, if they were going to do a Yoda film, probably Yoda before the events of the Phantom Menace, maybe Yoda becoming a Jedi Master, getting onto the council. Dooku was his apprentice, maybe that whole situation falling apart. But then again, with Christopher Lee having unfortunately passed away, you can't have Dooku without Christopher Lee. I'm sorry, you just can't do it. But they could find somebody else. They could do a story of him uncovering, you know, a Sith insurrection of some such thing, you know, or whatever, and tell that story. I would love it if they went back to like the Old Republic or Knights of the Old Republic, but that was 4,000 years before the events of the first film. And Yoda ain't that old. But they could take some of those ideas, like the whole Darth Revan saga, and put that into something with Yoda from just, you know, like 800 years ago, and not 4,000 years. So they could play with that canon and in that story and bring it into canon and do that. And I think that would be cool if it was Yoda trying to uncover the mystery of Revan, you know what I mean? Of like the return of the Sith, because, you know, there's always the balance of the Force. There's always it comes in pairs. There's always two, a master and an apprentice. So it's like playing with those themes and having maybe kind of a cool little, like, you know, action adventure mystery detective film with Yoda would be very interesting. And Frank Oz, you know, he's not going to be around forever. I'm just saying, he's not going to be around forever. So I don't know if he'd be able to do a younger, more spry Yoda, but I think he'd be willing to give it a shot. And I will say this, when they brought in Frank Oz as Yoda in the Star Wars Rebels, the first season, I got goosebumps and I teared up, man. Just hearing that voice again, so much love. I just had so much love for that scene. So I'm really hoping that when they do this, that they make it fun and entertaining and badass and everything else. But I want to know what you think. Do you think that a Boba Fett movie is worth it? Do you think a Yoda film is worth it? If you could get a Star Wars standalone film, who would you want? Like, what story would you want to tell? Is there a little pocket of Star Wars lore that you'd love to see explored in greater detail? These are things I'm curious about. Go ahead and let me know in the comments. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This has been $3 Theater. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day. Peace out.